By the year 2300, the Earth will have a population the size of the UK. And this is due to artificial intelligence, which will turn entire countries into apocalyptic wastelands. And I completely agree. This is Professor Subhash Kak. That's his name, I guess, as he paints a grim picture for how AI could have a devastating impact on the human population. I don't know if they have the actual video of this, but
2 years ago, I published a theorem in the Journal of AI and Consciousness showing that computers will never be conscious. And now, of course, you could always ask, what is consciousness? And that's a thorny philosophical question. But we know who is conscious and what isn't. You know, it's hard to talk about it. It's easier to know. You can look into somebody's eyes and say, hey, is this a zombie or is this a conscious being or even an animal? So
I got to pause right there and just say, bro, I don't know about that one. The NPC meme.
Computers or robots will never be conscious. But they will be doing literally all that we do, because most of what we do in our lives, we can be replaced. Literally everything, you know, even decision making in offices. Literally everything would be replaced. So it's going to be devastating for society, world society.
I completely agree. As a computer science professor, Subhash Kak forecasts an impossible cost to having children who won't grow up with jobs to turn to. That means the world's greatest cities like New York and London will become deserted ghost towns. Kak points to AI as the culprit, which he says will replace everything. And things will get so bad, he predicts the population will shrink to nearly the size of Britain's current estimated population of 70 million. The Age of Artificial Intelligence author who works at Oklahoma State University told The Sun, computers or robots will never be conscious, but they will be doing literally all that we do because most of what we do in our lives can be replaced. Literally everything, even decision-making in offices, will be replaced. So it's going to be devastating for society and world society. There are demographers who are suggesting that as a consequence, the world population will collapse and it will go down to as low as just 100 million people on the entire planet in 2300 or 2380. Just 100 million from 8 billion. So the whole world will be devastated. As I discussed in my book, I think people really don't have a clue. The great cities of modern times will be abandoned if you only have 100 million people in the whole world, which is just a bit more than the entire population of Great Britain. It's likely I have all this data in the book. It's not just my personal opinion. AI has advanced at a rapid rate in recent years. Tools like ChatGPT, which launched in 2022, have now established themselves as essential for businesses and individuals. I use it every single day. It is the same. It is an advanced form of search. Let me explain. So I know stories. I remember all of these stories. So I'll be looking at news and we'll be talking to somebody and I'll say something like if I were to recount the whole Ukraine scandal going back to the Turkey pipeline, obviously I don't know everything, much things beyond that because I wasn't alive. But I can say something like, I do know that this story came out. You Google search it, you might not find it. And you're like, why can't I find this article anymore? It's happened to you, right? Sometimes because they've gotten rid of them. I go to ChatGPT and I say, did this happen? It lays it out. Sometimes it's wrong. And then I say, give me your sources, and it will give me several sources. It finds it way faster and way easier than I ever could. There's also a bunch of other things it can do. It can take hard text data and turn it into a visual graph, and we use it all the time. In March, and you know what that means? It means I don't need for a news show before you'd be like, hey, I need some pre-production. Before the show, we're going to be talking about fertility rates. Can you draw a graph for me we can use? Here's the data. Now I can just type it in live, real time on the show as we're just learning about it. In March, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, said an increasing number of roles are being taken up by AI. Professor Kak, who also wrote Matter and Mind, said birth rates will plunge because people will be reluctant to have children who likely will be unemployed in adult life. BS. No way. People have stopped having babies, Europe, China, Japan, and the most rapid fall in population right now is Korea. Now, I'm not saying that these trends will continue, but it's very, very hard to reverse them because a lot of people have children for a variety of reasons. One, of course, is social. In the back of your mind, you have a sense of what the future is going to be like. Indeed. If you sense there will be no jobs for children, a lot of people have that sense. BS. I don't think that's a principal reason people don't have kids. I think social is because everybody expected you to. Back in the day, for women, This is what the female gender role was. Are you having kids? How well are your kids doing? Women competed with other women by the strength of their families, men in the business place. Now that women are doing these jobs, they're not competing over families anymore. They obviously don't want to have kids. They want to be girl bosses. So in social order, they're not competing for that. Now, I do think women love babies in a way that men do not. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. Men love kids. But I got to tell you, as a new father myself, with all the dads out there already knowing this to be true, when mom is holding the baby. So we went to an event for Memorial Day for veterans. Let me tell you, all the guys are jumping dirt bikes on skate ramps. You know, they're drinking beers and talking. And all the women ran over to my wife and were like, oh, the baby. Because babies are great and women love babies. So it's possible that something else happens. With AI taking over most of the jobs, it might actually be that women don't want to be girl bosses because there's nothing socially acceptable in doing it. The AI runs the show. And if humans are largely just sitting around doing nothing, what are they doing? But I don't think that'll be the case. Here's my prediction. AI takes over most jobs. There'll be some slave labor around the world, but AI will advance to the point where it will create small robots that can do almost any job, specially designed for that job. We won't need low-skilled labor to do anything. We'll largely just sit around and be creative. The one thing that humans are good at is creating the abstract. I don't know if AI will get to that point. Right now, what AI is doing is it's speeding through what humans have already thought up. AI probably will be able to imagine certain things, but I don't know. I don't know. This is the one thing that I struggle with when it comes to AI is, can AI imagine? Now, it can certainly steal and replicate, but can it imagine? You may argue, Tim, all humans do is steal and replicate anyway. We all stand on the shoulders of giants. That story you saw, that Marvel movie you watched, that wasn't a new idea. The Hulk. You know, we talk about, write a new superhero right now. Sorry, it's been done. What about a superhero who has the ability to remove body parts and reattach them at will? It's been done. There are heroes. Someone's thought of it. Here's the thing. You may be thinking, man, you know, there was a time when it was unique and original. No. The Incredible Hulk is a great example. That's not an original idea. It was literally just someone saying, can we do Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? Stan Lee and them, they were like, what if we had like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde character? Now, to be fair, there is a sense of discovery in coming up with new ideas. Some superheroes are new, but ideas were emergent, right? So the original X-Men, for instance, it wasn't that they were like, let's create a story about mutants who develop powers, and then there's a civil rights narrative. No, that's what it was. That's not what it was. Marvel had created a bunch of heroes, and they were tired of writing origin stories. So at some point, they're like, just say he's a mutant, he has powers. And then eventually they were like, well, if we have all these people who are mutants and born with powers, like what do we have? And it wasn't until later, like 20 years later, they were like, let's make it a civil rights narrative. It was emergent. It wasn't one day someone came up with the idea. We all just built off of it, adding one grain of sand at a time. Still, I don't know that AI can do that. They may just be purely replicable, in which case, my prediction for the next 3 years. I was talking to my buddy, Andy, shout out. He's a big video game fan, big Final Fantasy fan. And I said, once AI gets to the point where you can snap your fingers and make a video game, people like Andy are going to have 1 million followers. Because he's going to say, he's going to go on AI and he's going to be like, make me a video game that's an RPG with turn-based mechanics, but with some action capabilities. Here's the story. And he'll write out a basic story that's like 3 pages long because he's played these games. He knows it. He knows what he likes. The AI will then start mapping the whole thing out. It'll probably take a couple of days because we're talking about a long narrative, right? 40, 50 hours of gameplay. And so you're going to go in, even though the AI could do it instantly, you're going to start nitpicking and saying, change that because that's dumb. Then he's going to make the game. He's going to publish the game on his Steam account and people are going to follow him. And they're going to be like, dude, did you ever play like Andros games, man? All his games are so good. Same thing with movies. There's not going to be studios anymore. It's going to be one dude and he's going to be like, make me a movie. Here's the general idea. Here's the treatment. Like, here's what I came up with, right? I had a story. Quick version. It's the future. There's one city left on Earth. The entire planet is a wasteland. There's about 7 million people living in the last city. They have no idea how the Earth collapsed and where society went. They are slowly scouting, expanding outside of this one city and controlling this territory where they have farms on the outskirts, enough to support 7 million people in the single city. So it's a big swath of land, but there's nothing outside of it. At some point, all historical records just seem to vanish. They look at newspapers, they find old data servers. All the news just stops around 2077. One day, strange, thin, slender humanoid beings in full white suits with chrome helmets appear, and on a scouting mission, the scouts are killed. They don't know what it is. They can't figure out who these beings are. They think maybe these beings wiped out humanity. Maybe they're aliens. Their bullets can't penetrate force fields. These things float around. They can fly. How do we stop them? Conflict, political controversy, warring factions in the city. Some say we have to build up our defenses. Some say we have to go and fight the enemy. And then one day at a junkyard, they see these beings again. Someone in the fight, they're like, we can't stop them. The bullets don't work. Someone hits a button. There's a big magnet, drops a car, crushes one of these things, killing it. They scatter. The scout group goes, removes the helmet, and it's a human with no hair, pale skin. Here's the story. 2077, most humans started migrating into pods where they could live in the Matrix. You'd plug into the Neuralink and you'd live a virtual life where you did a virtual job. Largely AI was doing everything, but with most work being creative, you're just in this machine living whatever world you want to live in. But not everybody did. The people who lived in the rural areas and never migrated and still had to do hard labor stayed outside the system. The reason why historical records vanished, it's because historical record never vanished. It's in the system. It's in the Matrix. It's in the pods. Just like the internet today, if Ben Franklin came today, he'd say, give me a newspaper so I can understand what's happening. And they'd be like, we might have newspapers somewhere, but most conversation is in the internet. If you did not migrate to the new medium, you'd be excised from understanding that history. That's why they can't find it. So anyway, long story short, that's an idea I had several years ago. In the AI world, I could have said that in the span of 2 minutes I did, and the AI would make the whole movie. And I'd say, make it a full season of episodes, and it would make it. Then I'd have to spend about a week going through and tweaking certain things, making sure it was coherent and it fit my view and what I wanted. And then I'd publish it just like that. In 1 month, I'd have a whole season done, AI generated by myself for $50 a month. And I'd get followers who liked my show. That's where we're headed. As for population collapse, I agree with that too. It's hard to know exactly how this will pan out, really. But I do think it's a short-term thing. 2,300 maybe, but I'm going to tell you right now, economic collapse is coming because of AI. It's not going to make things better. It's too fast. It's going to knock out tens of millions of jobs instantly. In a matter of 3 to 5 years, we're looking at maybe 100 million jobs eliminated. So what will people do? It's one thing to have an industrial revolution. It's one thing for the entirety of our system to change overnight. I'm going to leave it there. Stay tuned. We got more segments coming up for you today. It's Saturday. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see y'all in the next bit. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast.